Hello and welcome to Reasons Are Debatable, where we look at one topic from many angles and offer bad advice that you didn't know you needed. My name is Matt.
I am Neil.
How you doing, Neil?
I'm not doing great, Matt. It's not great, Matt.
It's not great, Matt. Why is that?
Annalise and I talked about this on Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks this past weekend. For those that don't know, that's the other podcast I do with my lovely wife. And we just found out that our dog has lymphoma and it's in the advanced stages, and he doesn't have much longer on this planet, let alone this house.
He's the older of your two dogs, and you said he's around 8?
Yeah, he's around 8. He's a rescue. He's a little pit bull. He's been an odd little duck to begin with, but I am a fairly sensitive person anyway. And with my brain injuries and all this stuff, it's hard for me to handle emotional issues. It's harder for me to handle emotional issues now than it was before. And it's just not been good. Not that this is ever easy for anybody, but right. I am extremely attached to my dogs. We don't have human children. I can't have human children. So this is the closest thing that I've experienced to caring for something right. and loving something. I know it's totally different. Dogs and kids are not the same. I'm not trying to make it sound that way. I'm just saying for me, this is the closest that I get. I mean, I have human family members, but I don't care about them that much. So...
You've lost a couple dogs before, and then you guys just lost your cat. Was that just last fall?
I think maybe was it been 2 years?
It's been that long? I thought it was last year. Maybe I'm wrong.
No. You might be. Time for me, especially right. since 2016, has been just a flat fucking circle.
I think that's been true for most people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Really sorry about your dog. And but like you said, the nice thing about it is that he's not in pain, and seems happy-go-lucky right now. So that's kind of the one saving grace, is that he's not suffering. For
sure. And for those, and I apologize because I'm thinking that everybody who listens to this, knows the whole story. But yeah, the great thing is he's not going to be in pain. We'll know immediately when he's got to go, and that's great, because right now you wouldn't know by looking at him that anything's wrong.
Yeah,
because he's happy and he's eating and he's running around and playing, so he doesn't frickin' know.
Yeah,
it's just us humans that know what's going on.
Yep. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know how to transition from that. So
I can help you. Let me just say thank you to you. I'm joking. I'm not crying. Yeah, I'm just joking. Let me say thank you. I want to say thank you to you because you've been you've always been there and been very, very kind and there for us, and mostly me, during these weird and difficult times. And I want to say thank you to you, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's reached out and been supportive. And I'm really looking forward to a little bit of normalcy and chatting with you this week.
All right, there you go.
How's
Nicely
that?
done.
Is that
well
good?
Done.
All right.
Speaking of chatting, I really enjoyed your recent episodes, plural, of How Was Your Week, Honey? You were on with Chris and Kristen, and Annalise was on with you. I thought maybe they could have been a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, I it was weird. Almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
Total. And it kind of felt like we got robbed for time. I kind of felt like they didn't want us on.
Well, then they said, we want to have you on really, really soon. I'm like, do you? Because that's a lot. That's a lot.
I think what we'll do is we'll have them on Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks to kind of
return the favor.
Well, I was going to say to give some of their listeners a break.
Go check that out. How Was Your Week, Honey? Episodes 181 and 182. I was going to also say, speaking of Chris Meyer, he made me a liar.
Oh, really?
That rhymed.
I know.
Do that. He said...
Are your pants on fire?
Maybe. Had to change my tire. I said last week, I believe, that our second go at the Portland music scene on our liner notes was going to be released, but apparently he was too busy pulling together your episodes of How Was Your Week, Honey? And I see where I stand in the pecking order, and that's fine.
Well, you've been pecked by him a lot of times. We're a new peck. We're a new pecker-wrecker. So,
that's right. It's not shiny and new. I get it.
Yeah.
But look for that this week. I think it comes out Wednesday. So it's our liner notes. I believe it's episode 126, and then 127 will be out next week because it's going to be broken into 2 parts. So check that out, please. Before we get started, I wanted to bring up something.
Yeah.
Because you and I know that our listeners download our show for political discourse. That's why they come here.
Pretty much. I know it's why I come here.
So, Joe Biden, are you familiar with the man?
Oh, so we're going a little off script here.
Are we?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I like this. All right, Joe Biden. I am familiar. He ran for president a couple times and got his ass handed to him. That's what I remember.
Well, he was the vice president for 8 years. And
when?
Took a little break.
What?
Back at 08 to 16. Do you not remember those years?
No, since 2016.
Since 16. This is before that.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Anyway, his vice presidential pick is imminent. And I was reading an article on Politico that was talking about, the main contenders that they're speculating about. Nobody knows for sure, of course. And, they leak things at times to kind of get a feeling for the pulse of what people want and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of rumors. And the convention, whatever that's going to be, I don't even know how they're going to do that.
A Zoom call.
Probably. That's coming up in 2 weeks. So he's kind of down to the wire here because typically I think they usually announce, a challenging candidate usually announces their ticket about a week or two before the convention, typically. So I'd assume he's going to do that soon, but it sounds like in reading in this article that nobody really knows. Even the contenders are like, I'm not sure where everything stands. So I'd assume he's going to pick somebody either later this week, which might make this conversation completely not age well, but he's going to pick somebody later this week, or I would assume at least by Monday. That would be the kind of the latest. And so I was curious what you were thinking about as far as who the candidates are and if there was somebody that stood out for you.
Well, a couple things. I'm happy you brought this topic up because it is something that I've wanted to talk about. I also know that you're fairly politically savvy. You have a lot of experience. I don't want to say in punditry, but around politics. I know you were fairly politically involved, and I know your mother was as well. I don't know how involved your father was. If I'm just like that part of the story is out of my head.
Well, he's always been involved to a degree, done stuff on campaigns or whatever, but he's a huge political junkie. Like he can't get enough of it. And so he eats all that stuff up. He is much more conservative than I am. Mm-hmm. So I have to kind of always navigate those waters. My brother and I are always kind of trying to figure out, when those conversations start. Typically now my brother just is like, shuts it down. Like, yeah, anyway, he doesn't even want to get into it. My lady friend and I will sometimes engage for a minute. And you know how it just kind of gets your blood pumping sometimes when you start having these conversations? You know how it is. Yeah, you've talked about it. And then you 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, immediately regret it. And you're like, why am I doing this?
Right.
Because I'm just going to lose respect for this person or something.
Right. So I know you're fairly knowledgeable about these. So this is going to be fun to talk to you about. I'm going to pimp another podcast real quick because I was listening to it. Crooked Media did a podcast on the
they have a whole podcast series on it, right? Called Something Your Ticket.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I should. I'll look it up. Maybe we'll put it in the notes. But it's on the Pod Save America feed, and it was it talked about picking your VP, and it's with Dan Pfeiffer, who was Obama's communications director, and Alyssa Mastromonaco.
Right.
It's really good. Even if you're not a Democrat, just how the whole thing happens and the misinformation and the leaking and all of this and that is really cool. But it was interesting because they did say that oftentimes, like I think Biden wasn't announced until like 3 or 4 days before the convention, and Tim Kaine wasn't announced until 2 days before the convention.
Okay, so it was that close.
So it was, and they were also saying how a lot of, and the reason I'm giving them credit because I don't want to make it sound like I'm this political junkie that knows all this stuff.
No, you should take credit.
Right, and so they were also saying how there's a lot of manufactured quote unquote leaks, as there has been in politics since,
of course,
the beginning of frickin' time, and for sure by the beginning of this country.
Yeah, it allows you to float things out there, see what the reaction is, and then be like, we were never going to do that.
Yeah, we weren't going to do that. So it is kind of interesting to see all the stories that are being written now about who's Biden's choice going to be, and is this person good, is this person bad? I have some feelings on the people on the. I guess there's like 10 people right now on the short list. I think the short list is actually more like 6.
Right.
But it sounds like there's 10. I really like where Biden's going with this. I really like that he's looking at.
Well, he declared he was going to pick a woman for sure.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And I also like that he's looking at the fact that he's planning's the wrong word, that there's an idea floating out there that he might only be a one-term president,
Right.
and whoever this vice president is the person that he feels would make the best president after 4 years.
Right.
Or even sooner. I mean, he's been very open about like, hey, if I don't make it to 4 years, I want somebody there who can just step into the job and do it, which I think is a really fresh perspective on politics and on the presidency and on the future of the country. I really am enjoying his honesty about this. Let me also start by saying that I lean a little more Democrat than I do conservative, and I'm not a fan of the person who's in the White House now. So I'm pretty sure that one of my characters in Animal Crossing I would vote for president before I'd vote for who's in there now. And it's not a conservative thing. It's just I think he's a dolt.
Right.
You know. So I just want to throw that out there because I don't want there to be any confusion about it.
I think it'll be clear. I think it's been clear by the way we talk. But the thing that's interesting, like you just said, is when it comes to the VP pick, it's not like it's a throwaway position, but it's never been the most touted spot as far as, you know, a lot of times people have chosen a vice president candidate based on how they get the president over the top, not looking in any way at a succession option.
Right. But BHO gave a lot of power to, that's what I call him because we're tight.
I call him Barrio.
Nice. A lot of power to Biden. Like Biden was put in charge of some big freaking policies, which I thought was really cool.
Pence was put in charge of the task force on coronavirus. Look at great. Wasn't
he also put on the what is their new space force?
Yes, the Space Force. I think.
Yeah, and that's kicking ass.
Yeah, totally.
We got that dialed in.
Space Force is fucking dialed in. Yeah.
Pence is killing it as a vice president. By killing it, I mean he's literally killing it as a vice president.
Well, and the thing that I just found it interesting because it's such a weird spot. I mean, it's you're one heartbeat away from the presidency, but
you're one amazing hand job away from the presidency.
if you look back at historically at the vice presidents over the course of our history, and I do have a little bit of presidential trivia for you in a minute.
Oh, and you also have vice presidential experience.
You mean on my homeowners association board?
Exactly.
I was going to say there is no less important job in the world than the vice president of our home association board because we only have 7 houses on our association.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's almost like, well, it's your turn. It's kind of that, treat of that. Mm-hmm. But the vice president literally has no duties at all. So the president kind of runs the meetings and, takes the lead on a lot of stuff. And then the treasurer handles all the money. Mm-hmm. So the vice president has to do nothing. You have fuck all to do. So it's a great spot to be in. But anyway, this vice presidential pick seems like one of the most important that I can remember because of the things that you just said, because of the fact that we're looking at accounting for who might be the next president if something, heaven forbid, happened to Biden if he gets elected. And then also, like you said, because he might just be up for one term and done. So it's also so important because of the fact that of the direction he's going, the fact that he's looking at, a different gender, very likely a different race. And so that's just, it's one of the most important vice presidential picks I can recall.
It's one of the most exciting, I think, also. And I hope that regardless or irregardless of the side of politics that you fall on, that you see that this is momentous for the country, that it is actually a big deal. Whatever happens in November happens in November. But even, when Ferraro was chosen, it's another step forward.
Palin.
Yeah. Another step forward for our country and including people.
Yes.
And I think representation matters in politics as it does I know it makes a huge difference for me, like in TV and music, particularly in music.
Well, that is one of the bummers about this race in general is yet again, it's just 2 old white guys. So that's why the VP pick is so interesting.
And as a Latino or Hispanic or however you want to label me,
I have many labels for you.
It's one of the few times because I was not a Biden fan to begin with. As far as being president, I wanted somebody younger. I wanted somebody a little more diverse.
Yeah.
But with how things are going, I'm like, oh, you know what? Having 2 old white guys at the top might actually help out in this deciding this thing in the way I'd like it to go.
Yeah.
Because it's not a far stretch for people that are disheartened by what we have now to go, I'm just going to take the other white guy this time. I think it might be a little easier than going, I'm going to take the transsexual Asian African Muslim. Might be a little bit
So
hard
maybe
right
it's
now.
an easier transition for people who are in the middle.
Yeah, racists. Yeah, that's
Or-
what I meant.
yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So who do you think is, because I often politically rant to Kristen Meyer. We talked about earlier of how we're cunning about random bits. And I had told her many months ago, I thought Kamala was going to be the person he chose.
Yeah.
And I kind of have stood by that. I know some people ding on her for various things as far as maybe some of her, record when she was like she was a prosecutor
here
right?
in SF, yeah.
So, and so I understand that, but, and then the latest thing that came out was they were talking about how, is she like overly ambitious? What does that fucking mean?
So that's misogynistic for she doesn't take any shit and she's going to get where she wants to go.
Right. So
That's what that is. That's a guy going, holy shit, she's way more successful and's got bigger balls than I do. Actually, we should just say has got a bigger vagina because that thing's more important than my fucking balls. 'Cause my balls don't work and I'm still pumping. So that's what that is. That's just misogynistic racism garbage.
right. And so
Just wait till they start talking about her voice.
there'll be some, or her outfits. It'll all be be a thing.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely love to watch her destroy Mike Pence in a debate. I think that would be hilarious. Although,
I think it would be totally unfair.
well, I think almost any of these candidates would probably destroy him in a debate.
Right.
But her in particular, she's, she, like you said, she doesn't take any shit. So I could just see her just destroying him, which would be fun. Her father is from, do you know?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Jamaica.
That's what I said.
So see, I thought this
I
would
did
be
not
an
know.
added bonus for you because of how your strong ties to Jamaica.
I'm a Kamala Harris fan. I'm also a Susan Rice fan.
Yep.
I think he actually has. I'm a big Stacey Abrams fan, but not for her political career. I just like her attitude and her, like, I'm not going to take shit. And when she lost in Georgia and immediately went to, oh no, I'm not just going to sit here and cry in my milk and whatever, that she put together this amazing movement to get people registered and stop the voter suppression. I mean, she's just a freaking tour de force. I think, though, right now in her political career, she could do more, and she has said this herself, she could do more with what she's doing now than as vice president. I think she would make an amazing president or vice president later. That's who I would pick, just because it's kind of like I would also pick like John Bon Jovi to be like Secretary of State just so I could listen to him and see him. I kind of have that feeling with her that I just want to see her all the time and have her just smack people down.
Well, I think a lot of the candidates on this list, if he wins, you will see them end up in a certain position in his administration, or I would imagine Stacey Abrams will have some sort of job.
I would think, but I think my top two in what I hope is Kamala Harris and Susan Rice.
Okay, yeah, Karen Bass has gotten a lot of
Yep, a lot of play, a lot of
play
run
lately.
A lot of run. Yeah.
Of course, they start digging around for whatever they can find in her closet. So there was she made some comment about when Castro died and they're dinging her for that. She made some comment
Right.
about Scientology and they're dinging her for that.
Which is fair. I think that's good because you're going to get freaking creamed for everything you say.
Yes, everything's brought up. So
Yeah.
yet another reason why whenever people have said to me like, oh, you should have run for office. Why didn't you run for office? I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Right. Well, the only
No, thanks.
opposing view to that is if you're so over the edge like the guy in the White House now and you don't really care,
Yeah.
it can work to your advantage. If you've had like so much stuff that you're like,
If you have no shame,
And-
sure.
yeah, that's why I always thought about running because they're like, and you, and I'm like,
Yeah, so she's definitely a big player in this, and she's, her kind of the way she's kind of explained herself is I build coalitions. I'm a bridge builder. I can work with whoever, and a team player. And that's one of the big things that Biden's talked about is they really want somebody who's a team player that he can work in lockstep with, because that's certainly one of the things you see when you look back at some vice presidential picks as well, as when it doesn't go well, you can tell that the vice president and president have no ties whatsoever. It's real rocky.
not like we have
Connection?
now where they seem super tight.
Totally
and in step.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when they do have that bond, you can really see it benefits the campaign big time. Like when Clinton picked Gore, they were two young guys who were, kind of on the same page. And I mean, obviously Biden and Obama are on the same page. So I think it enhances the campaign if that's the case. And I think that's why some of his team has been a little bit hesitant with Kamala, because they're worried that she's not going to be a team player or whatever. But I don't know. I still think she's the pick I'd go with.
Yeah, the Obama Biden chemistry and that whole thing about we're going to have lunch together once a week and hang out and just talk to figure stuff out, I think is important. And I know Biden said that's what he wants, someone who can do that. I think that there's a little bit of a misrepresentation about Kamala Harris because she's so fierce in her debates and standing up for what she believes in that unfortunately people do that thing where they see a little snapshot of someone and think that's who they are all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case. That, I mean, there's obviously living in California and near San Francisco, there's a lot of stories we hear and have heard about her, and that she is a human being and does have this other side. She's just one of those that when she, quote unquote, steps into the ring, she's not going to back down, which I think is exactly what Biden wants. Susan Rice is a lot like that. Unfortunately, Susan Rice has a lot of political baggage, not my words, but in what others can pull. I mean, people are bringing up the Benghazi thing. People are bringing up the Clinton thing. And it's kind of like, it's unfair, but you have to expect that.
Yeah.
With Kamala, they're going to bring up her prosecution record and all of that, which is good, but it's going to be really hard then for the right to say she's soft on crime and these things. It's going to come from within her own party.
Yeah, it will. You're right.
Not the other side. And so a lot of these like ads that are running right now against Biden, a lot of these like he wants to defund the police, he's going to be stopped, blah, 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 blah. Well, what are you going to say? Not that the police union out here had lost any sleep over Kamala Harris, but she's just got an edge to her that I think would round out Biden in a really good way. I think and I also think the Susan Rice Biden connection with so many years together could feel a little bit like the good old boys, quote unquote,
getting the band back together.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And then you make Obama, Department of the Interior, and you got the whole thing.
I don't think Obama's coming back to serve in a role.
I meant Michelle, not
Michelle.
Barack. My
gotcha.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want a little VP trivia?
Yes, I do.
There have been 48 vice presidents in our history, including the guy now. Guess how many have gone on to be elected president? Elected, not just took over office due to death. And this is not just. This doesn't mean that they got elected immediately after serving. It means
they can come back.
That, or also if they took over for a dying president and then won an election after
re-election.
That's what I'm saying. So how many total out of 48?
3.
9.
Oh, I didn't think it would be that high.
It is. Although, I mean, because the one of the articles I was reading recently was talking about how, in general, vice presidents don't have a great track record of moving on to the presidency. Mm-mm. And like I said, if you look back at the list, there's like, who? There's so many names. You have no idea who these people are. Much like when people are like, the presidents between like 10 and 20, there's a lot of fogginess there, like on who's that guy?
I was just about to say, I was listening
Fillmore?
to the
guy
Lincoln
named
conspiracy, which was the first plot to kill Lincoln right after he got the nomination, before his inauguration. Now I'm going to start rhyming. I feel like I'm in a Hamilton
Keep
play.
going, man.
Yeah. And they were naming off, again, between that 12 and 18, they were naming off vice president, people who ran for president. Yeah. And I'm like, I've never even heard that name.
Yeah. I'm pretty good. I can do 1 through 10. And then, like 15, 16, 17, 18 is easy. But yeah, there's some other ones in there where you're like, who's that guy again?
Yeah.
They'll have just kind of generic names too, it seems.
Yeah.
Like. But
anyway. And when they start getting named after, comics strip characters, I'm out.
So of the 9, you only said 3, so this is going to be a tough one for you. Can you name any of them? And I'm going to give you
I can name one.
Okay.
Reagan's vice president.
Who was, his name
Bush.
was?
Sorry, Bush. Yes.
Bush Sr.
Yeah.
He was one. You got no others?
I do. See, because this goes back to the book, but I can't remember their name.
Think about some recent, not recent, but I mean, like, Well, so think about somebody who died and then somebody took over for them and then won re-election.
Lyndon B. Johnson.
That's 2. I think people forget that this guy was vice president before, maybe, but Nixon was.
Oh, I did not know that.
He was vice president before, and then he became president. Truman won re-election after he took over for FDR.
Oh, right. But he wasn't ever a vice.
He was vice president.
Vice president
for
filled
FDR,
in, and then that's right.
And then he won.
And then he actually won.
Calvin Coolidge, Teddy Roosevelt.
Calvin Coolidge to me just doesn't seem like he should have ever been a president. I'm just saying.
He was like early 1900s, I think. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt, Martin Van Buren, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams.
See, like Buren, I would
Like who-
you could
like
you
what?
could have given
Like that
me
guy?
that name, and I would have been like,
Oh, see, he's number 8.
pro-
I know the first 10.
oh, that's pretty good.
I know that I can nail the first 10, but
Yeah.
it gets a little dodgy after that. So there you go.
I just want another Adams. I just want there to be like a whole.
There's only been 2 of them. We need more.
I know. I want
More Adams.
More Adams.
All right. Well, Neil, let me ask you this. Now that we spent so much time talking
Yeah.
politics,
Well, that was fun.
A little
I
bit
like
of a
that.
departure.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to get back to normal now that the pandemic has died down?
My dog's about to die, so no, I'm not ready for any shit.
Oh, no.
Oh no, it starts. All right, so you can reach me at Reasons Are. And
Thanks. We'll be back next week. No, I thought we could look really quickly at kind of how we're doing.
Yeah.
Again, we'll check in. And
I'm doing fucking great.
and
Let's
how-
check in again.
And how fall is shaping up.
All right.
And first of all, I want to talk about sports because sports are back. Many sports are back.
And you're gonna be in trouble.
I had a really good sports weekend last weekend for my personal interest.
Oh, nice.
So the NBA is back, and my Blazers won a huge game against Memphis, and then they lost on Sunday, but that's fine. But so far, the NBA, that bubble in Orlando, seems to be working fairly well for them. Like I don't think they've had any major issues. And what'd you think?
No, they're killing it. That's great.
But I'm saying they haven't had big outbreaks.
No, not like
baseball.
not like baseball.
Yeah,
right? Or
baseball.
football.
Well, yeah, football is a problem, and we'll get to that in a minute. Baseball is a hot mess. I mean, they had the issue with the Marlins, and then I think they just had yesterday or the day before they had an issue with the Cardinals, and that's just a problem. They're not doing any bubble. They're flying all over the fucking place and playing in home stadiums.
Yeah.
And so and having Fauci throw out terrible first pitches and stuff like that. So
I love that story about his Topps card.
what was the Topps card?
So Topps made a baseball card of him. I think they did 10,000.
Oh, I think I saw
it sold
that,
out
yeah.
in like in 2 hours or something like that. And then they were going on eBay for almost 10 grand.
Jesus. So NBA is back and kind of handling it. The NHL is back and is doing pretty well. And my Islanders are up 2-0 on Florida now, so I'm liking that. But they have 2 different bubbles. They've got Edmonton and Toronto, so
Right.
the West and the East. They seem to be managing it. My team Arsenal in English Premier League won the FA Cup.
My team as well.
Your team as well won the FA Cup last Saturday, which was awesome. And
Oh, that's the fucking A Cup, huh?
it's a fucking A Cup, exactly.
Fucking A. I like it.
But all of those sports, NBA, NHL, and the Premier League soccer, they have all done a pretty good job of managing and keeping those counts in check. And even golf, has had some, but
Got
it's
golf at
easier.
Hardin Park this weekend.
Exactly. I was going to say, didn't you tell me you could get me on that course?
I can. Well, not freaking now.
Well, I mean, eventually.
Yeah.
Fucking
When
A Cup.
when you're out here again. Yeah. Fucking A Cup.
So golf is easier because it's easier to distance. It's not a contact sport where people are going head to head. But all those sports seem to be handling it well. I'm surprised so far at how well they've actually handled it because I thought it would be even worse. But clearly, baseball is a problem, and football is going to be a big, big, big problem.
And motorsports has been handling it really well. Way different, obviously, but I think they set the blueprint for how it could work and how
By putting a noose in every garage, or
right. They said if we get rid of all the minorities, so then basketball and baseball was like, yeah, we're done.
yeah. So
Hockey was like, we're getting there, but we can still make this work.
they could still kind of do it. I don't know how the NFL is going to make it work, and you're already seeing some players are opting out. They just announced Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, got the germ.
Half the Patriots opted out.
Have they?
Well, not half, but a lot.
A lot of them, yeah. So you're going to see it more and more, and I don't know how football can manage. It's just too much close contact. It's too many players. It seems impossible, and I don't know how the hell they're going to have a season, frankly.
Well, college football delayed quite a bit, right?
They did. So, like, for instance, our Oregon Ducks, the Pac-12 pushed it out to September 26th is when they're going to kick off. They're only doing conference games, which is what all the teams are doing now.
Right.
They're all doing conference only. But they pushed it back, kind of built in some bye weeks and a little bit of buffers in case they need to do some rescheduling or there's some quarantine action that happens. However, then I don't know if you saw that the Pac-12 players came out and have a list of demands as far as what they are requiring before they play. And I don't blame them for throwing this out there. There's a lot of stuff that makes a lot of sense. There's a couple parts you're like, ooh, that's maybe a little optimistic.
But you ask for
I
everything,
think you're
right?
Yeah, exactly. I think you start at that point to get the negotiations kicked off and go from there. Because like the 50% of the revenue, I mean, like, good on you for asking for it. I don't think you're going to get that. However, it's if you can get some out of it, great. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what the conference does, because our conference, Pac-12 conference, is run by a complete moron, and so I don't have a lot of faith that that'll be sorted out. But so it's not just. I mean, you're obviously worried about their safety. Some of their demands, as far as like long-term healthcare and the ability to go back to graduate school, the ability to go into the draft, not get drafted, and come back to college, which makes total sense.
Stuff that makes sense.
Total sense. Yeah. The ability to transfer schools one time without any sort of sit-out penalty. Like, all those things make a lot of sense. And so, and I know the NCAA has tried to kind of, well, of course, the whole name, image, and likeness stuff too, that's a big one. And the NCAA has kind of been bracing for this a bit, but I think now they're like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, the NCAA needs the money. They need the players now more than ever to be willing. And this is the best time. I mean, I applaud the players for doing this.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for asking everything they're asking for, because I think some of that stuff, which seems like a no-brainer, they will get, which is unfortunate because they're having to ask for so much to get what's actually due them. Mm-hmm. But some of that other stuff, I think that's just to push, because if they just came and asked for what they actually deserve,
they won't get it.
They'll get maybe half.
Right.
So this way they're like, and everybody who gets, gets a scholarship also gets a Lamborghini, and you're like, I don't even know the correlation with that. We don't have a deal with Lamborghini. It's an Italian car company. What are you talking about?
Right. So then the players are like, okay, you know what?
Fine,
give us
Fiesta.
Fiesta. Give us these 4 things and we can take the Lamborghini off the table. They're like, okay.
Yeah, fine. Fair enough.
Nailed it.
But I applaud the players for doing that. I think it's a great time. But sports is weird right now. I mean, I kind of feel like they should either go one way or the other. They should either go, we're doing it like we normally do it, and if freaking fans, we're selling tickets, and if fans want to come and they get sick and die, they get sick and die. If the players, you can opt out if you want, but we're just doing NFL just goes, we're doing it the way we always did it. Sorry.
You think that's how they're going to do it?
No. I kind of just want them to do that.
Well, that'll be a disaster.
I know.
Yeah, I think that the more it goes along, the closer we get to the fall, you can just see that they're going to have to punt. They're going to have to push stuff back.
NFL's banking on a vaccine. That's what they're banking on.
And that's
not smart. But what else do you do?
You
don't throw in the towel now.
Well, no, you don't throw in the towel. I understand that, but even still, you're starting to get into fall camp season here, and you're going to just see numbers start spiking, and then you're fucked. So I can understand preparing for it. I mean, it's just like, we'll get into, I want to talk about youth sports and schools here in a minute. It makes sense to plan for it. Plan like it's like shit's going to turn for the better, and you be prepared for that.
Right.
It just seems really unrealistic that any of that's going to happen. I just, as much as it will kill me to not have, a college football season, I don't see any way they can do it.
Well, my feeling is if I can't go to Jamaica, these fuckers should be able to play sports.
Yeah.
That's it.
These fuckers. Yeah.
And I don't mean that as derogatory towards the players. I'm just pissed at everything right now. So I just want to call everybody a name.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're angry.
I'm hurt.
Yeah, you're hurt.
I'm sad. I finally got my wish. Cam Newton on the Patriots.
And then you gotta wait.
Shit.
Well, it's terrible timing too for our Ducks because they got some nice momentum going. Just won the Rose Bowl. Their recruiting's doing really well. Like they're gonna have another good season, and it might just get flushed down the toilet because several of these players, like if they try to do something, I've heard rumors about them trying to push college football to winter to try to like have a camp in January, start playing football in February, which first of all, for some of those teams like in the upper Midwest and stuff and Northeast, that's going to be brutal.
Right.
But even still, if that happens, seniors or draft eligible players are going to be like, yeah, I'm out. I'm going to go prepare for the NFL draft. And they absolutely should. And so it's going to be any season we get is going to be just weird.
It's right. And I just don't know without a vaccine or without a true bubble, how you can, and I just don't know how you can do that with football.
How can you do it with football for NFL? How can you do it with football for students who are trying to attend college? Yes, you can have them do online courses and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, there's just too many players, too much personnel for it to not for it to not go south.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So California and Washington have both pushed their fall high school sports to the spring. They've already made that decision. Oregon pushed everything back like a month. Said, okay, we're not going to start games for a month till a month later, like end of September, beginning of October. But practice is still on.
Yeah, I mean, I get that your bubble is smaller, right? Your area of contact.
Why are you talking about our bubble?
I know. Your area of contact is smaller. That's a tire reference, by the way. Is smaller with just practice, right? It's the same people, hopefully day after day after day.
That, and you can also try to do things to manage it, to limit that contact. But still, you can't. It makes it very, very difficult to come up with a practice plan when it's like, okay, guys, don't get anywhere near each other.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the one good thing is that NFL and college has been working really hard with like the tackling dummies and not full contact practices. So that helps. So maybe you can. But how do you tell your line, okay, you guys need to practice, O or D, how do you guys need to practice, but just don't stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
I mean, then you're just running drills. And at that point, why even bother?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a glorified 7-on-7 camp or something. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't. I don't know.
You're going to have some jackhole now that's going to start spitting on people just simply as a fear tactic whenever you're playing football.
Yeah. And so I coach youth soccer, as you know. Mm-hmm. So I had to take over the head coaching reins from this guy because
you killed him.
Because I killed him. No, he's coaching baseball, which is actually happening right now. And so
that's crazy.
He was explaining to me how the practices work, and it's like, you can't have the kids, next to each other. If two kids are going to throw balls back and forth, they get like 5 balls, and it's just those two, and they throw them just between those two kids. If you hit like infield drills, if you hit a ground ball to shortstop, the guy's supposed to scoop it with his glove and drop it with his glove in a bucket. Don't throw to first. I mean, how do you practice?
Yeah, you're not practicing.
No, so
you're probably better off playing video games at that point.
I think you might. So he said, well, that's supposed to run until into mid-September or something. Right now, the parents can't even attend the games.
Oh, that's probably good.
Well, it probably is because parents in Little League suck or in baseball suck.
Yeah.
But it's as a parent, you're probably going to be like, well, this is stupid. I mean, as much as you're like, yeah, my kid's independent enough to go play in a sports league and I don't have to be there. You want to watch your kid play, so that would just blow. But anyway, what I was going to say is...
I like that, but anyway.
So I had to take the head coaching job because he can't join until a little bit later. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to construct a practice with drills for soccer where we can't scrimmage? The kids have to stay so far separated. It's like 15 kids because it's 9-on-9. How the hell am I supposed to keep 15, like 11 and 12-year-olds from screwing with each other?
So
it's
where I
almost
work,
impossible.
There's soccer camps going on right now because there's no daycare, there's no school, there's nothing. So trying to figure out a way for parents that have to work right now, a place to put their kids. And so they have soccer camps. And the coaches and the camp counselors are doing their best. But you can't keep kids away from each other.
Kids going to be kids.
And all day you just hear... No, you got it. No. 6 feet, 6. No. And, they're running drills and doing stuff. But then a lot of kids who play sports have some sort of competitive aspect or streak in their personality. And all of a sudden they want to play the game. So they're running drill. I mean, it's an all day camp. So they're running drills for hours. And then it's like, well, let's freaking play a game. Let's scrimmage. And they're like, well, okay, but you can't get closer than this to the goalie. And the kids just don't listen.
Scrimmage is the reward for practice. I mean, as a kid playing any sport, we always were just like, can we scrimmage now? And as a coach who has to come up with all the drills and organize a practice, you kind of having scrimmage is nice because it provides some buffer. Like, we start our practice with a 10-minute scrimmage while we kind of get everything sorted, and then end the practice with a 20, 30-minute scrimmage. And in the middle, you do all these drills. to not have that scrimmage, it makes it really difficult to try to put that together. I don't know how they're going to do it. We just got an email from the league the other day that was going out to all the parents, and it was a total fucking CYA. It was like, it basically was like, look, soccer is voluntary. You don't have to play.
It's the Disney thing. Hey, we're open, but we're not taking any responsibility, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if
you do your part, we'll do our part.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm waiting for what guidance are they going to say, when it comes to all that stuff, scrimmages, don't practice throw-ins. Like there's going to be all these different things where you cannot touch your hands to the ball, which, for soccer works fine.
Right.
Or you just can't be within 6 feet of each other. And you can't wear masks while they're playing soccer. Can you imagine wearing a mask on a fucking 90-degree day on an afternoon playing soccer? It's horrible.
But even with hands to the ball and all that, I mean, I know most goalies wear gloves, but still they're sweating and dripping on those gloves. They touch the ball and then you have a throw in. Right. Or, I mean, in soccer, you do sometimes fall on the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Well, I do know what the answer is that you just wait until either there's a vaccine or do something else.
Or the numbers are incredibly, incredibly low.
But it's right. But it's tough because parents need to put these freaking kids somewhere. Kids need to do something.
Yeah, oh yeah. Fuck yeah.
Fucking A.
They absolutely need to do something.
So I don't know. I mean, I obviously I don't think people want to get kids sick or that they themselves get sick, but I also think we suffer from short attention span syndrome.
Yeah. We talked about this like at the beginning when we kicked this show off.
Yeah, I forgot.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen when things taper, things level out and then we relax.
Yeah, and people we don't have a mentality of wanting to help one another. It's all about us and what we need at the time, and we're not willing to sacrifice even if we feel it's unfair. A lot of people are not willing to make any sacrifices because they feel that they are making us do something.
Or you go, oh God, we haven't been able to do any of this stuff for 2 months. I'm just going to do this one. You know what I mean? So that happens too.
Right.
Like you said, all you can do is prepare as if the season's going to happen, which is what they're doing. I still haven't got a practice schedule yet, but all you can do is take as my fellow coach says, your concussion and pervert training online, and then you're good to go.
That's it.
He said it the other day. He goes, I have to take that pervert training every year. It's so if something like if your assistant coach sends inappropriate text messages to a player, what do you do? It's all these it's horrible stuff. It's like nasty stuff you don't want to read about.
I have to take it for supervisors, and some of them you're like, wait, you actually have to say this out loud. Yep. Anyway, I don't know, but I'm sorry. Let me rewind. But Annalise and I are going through that right now with vacation. It's not the right time to go, but because we want to do it and we feel we know better than the virus or the doctor, we're like, well, we could probably go and be okay. But even if we go and we're okay, we're setting the wrong example and doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, right.
But whatever.
Well, and that brings me
I'm just trying to make America great again.
Yeah, that brings me to schools. There has been a load of parent drama around, what they're going to do for the school year here. And frankly, I can't even picture my kids going back until 2021 at this point. So it's hard to imagine them being in a classroom this calendar year.
Did you see the pictures from frickin' Georgia?
Yeah, I didn't see the pictures
in the hallway.
But I heard that. Oh, what was the hallway?
Oh, it's just a packed hallway at a high school. Nobody's wearing masks.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's a problem.
I believe it's Georgia. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, and then Indiana had a case the first day back. I know that Georgia had an incident with the number of staff. So it's just, I don't know. And what's funny too that all of a sudden you got like fucking Fauci's talking about reopening schools.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard what he said, and if you take it in context, he's saying we should default to trying to do that. He's not necessarily saying we should reopen schools. However, he's like, if you take the appropriate safety precautions and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, Tony, when exactly was the last time you stepped foot in a first grade classroom? Because I'm going to guess it was probably when you were in first grade.
And during the 1918 pandemic, they did a bunch of schooling outside. But even now, teachers and students and kids are like, we're not fucking going outside. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Well, and so to me, when you go into a grade school, for instance, those classes are a mess. It's fucking germs flying everywhere. Kids are all over each other. It's impossible to keep them off
It's
each other.
nasty on a good day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how is it going to be now?
You see how colds and the quote unquote regular flu goes
Spread
crazy.
like wildfire. Mm-hmm.
And now you have something that we have no yet protection against.
And it's highly contagious.
And it's more contagious than what we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they've given us options. And so it was like,
Sell your kids.
Here, yes, that's one. Never let them go to school again. Never let them leave the house again. No, the one is there's like a full online program for the year that they're going to run through the school district. If you commit to it, you got to commit to the whole year. You can't change later. So there's that. Then there's a hybrid model, which is what we're doing, which is once they're able to open up schools, you stagger. So every other day your kid goes to school. And then on the off days, they're online. So that means half the classroom size. Like if, for instance, with middle school, with my older son who's going to start middle school this year, no lockers. You don't change classrooms like you would. The teachers come to you. There's all these measures they're taking. You're wearing face masks all day. All that kind of stuff is in play. In the meantime, they do distance learning because they said, well, we're not going to open schools until at least the end of October. And then they said, if you're not comfortable, you send your kid back when you're comfortable. So if you're not comfortable and they end up doing the distance learning the whole year, that's fine. So I was like, well, then why sign up for the fucking online program?
Right. Yeah.
Because
that's a good point.
What if something by some miracle by March, let's say, which of course is probably wrong, but if by March, let's say we do have a vaccine or something's in play that makes it safe, well, now you have the option to go back. And frankly, I need, kids get out of the goddamn house.
Right.
So that's kind of the way we were approaching it. But friends of ours have been like, nope, we're signing up for the online thing. And I'm just like, ooh. And I mean, like Fauci says, there's an emotional and social aspect here that should be considered when it comes to kids and going to school. And so I just feel like if it's safe enough to send them to school, then at that point I would trust the hybrid model. But for now, I like I said, I don't see them going until at least 2021.
It's got to be so weird and so sad as a parent to have to make these decisions.
It's well, especially because
because you have to spend this much time with your kids.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because when I was talking to my lady friend about it, I said, maybe they tell you they're going to stagger, but if you have siblings, they'll make sure that they have the same day where they go to school, even though they go to two different schools. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, maybe we should stagger them because they just are on each other's fucking tits all day.
Yeah.
So maybe we should space that out. And she goes, wouldn't it be nice though if we had a couple
break.
Days a week where it was just the two of us? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I also think that even though they're on each other when this whole thing happens, and if some of their friends do get sick or there is some change, they're going to find some comfort in seeing each other.
True.
On their days off.
Well, they probably like each other a lot more than they lead on, but since they're around each other,
they'll have more fun arguing with each other than not seeing each other.
Right. Since they're around each other nonstop, it's going to build some contempt. So. Okay, well, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to our show. You can find us and share your thoughts at Reasons Are. Neil is
at AngelsFreak7.
You can email us your advice questions at reasonsaredebatable@gmail.com. Go check out our merch. I keep forgetting to mention that.
Teespring.com/. God, I did it this time.
See, you did it, yeah.
tpublic.com/DAPF pod.
Write a review if you would. Tell someone about the show. Go to reasonsaredebatable.com. You can also find links out there to all of our merch, like Neil just mentioned, as well as our appearances on other shows, which I added your episodes.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's cool.
So those are included as well. And we will be back next week. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks.